Great. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Sarah Tanner, and I am the president of Forenza Wealth Management. And I am here with my business partner, Carrie Mullins, who is our CEO, and our good friend, Jeff Kinberg, who is the regional vice president and business consultant for one of our trusted business partners, John Hancock. We feel very strongly about education for our clients, and something that we all are going to utilize at some point is Social Security. And Jeff has a lot of great information for us today. So I would like to again welcome Jeff and thank you all for joining. And we'll go ahead and get started. Oh, sorry, one quick thing. If you have questions, please do put those in the chat, and we'll try and answer as many of those as we can at the end.
Awesome. Can you hear me okay, Carrie and Sarah? Wonderful. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for the time. My name is Jeff Kinberg. I'm the Regional Vice President, as mentioned, for John Hancock, Manulife John Hancock Investments. Some of you may be familiar with John Hancock as a company, or maybe you have an insurance policy, or you're familiar with the 401k. I represent their asset management arm, and something that's very kind of near and dear for our firm is providing content on things that we all will have some inflection with, hopefully at some time in our life, which is Social Security and things like Medicare, etc. Today, we're going to focus on Social Security. There'll be time at the end to answer anything that you may have top of mind or that comes up through today's discussion. So fear not, please add it to the questions or the Q&A queue, and we will get to it. But to begin, Social Security feels like a big, scary topic sometimes because you work, your family, people you know, pay into the system for years and decades, and then all of a sudden, there's a time when you get to draw on it, or hopefully that's the goal of all of our. We pay in, and then we receive a reward or a form of a retirement payment that helps to kind of defray costs later in life. So today we're going to kind of walk through where we've been, where we're going, and then some of the questions that have come up more recently, which is what is the viability of the program? I heard it's going bankrupt. It's not going bankrupt. It's not going to zero. We'll explain what that means, and then some changes that have taken place recently that may have an effect, both good and bad, for you. So to kick off, let's just talk about kind of the roots of Social Security, kind of where we are today, kind of understanding benefits, because this is where it applies to all of us. How does that situation apply to you? And then what we can expect in terms of some decisions we can think about making that have effects on what we actually receive as a benefit, and then changes, as I just mentioned. So the roots. 1935, this was written into law. Franklin Roosevelt wrote into law the ability for someone to effectively create a retirement for working into the system, paying in a benefit. It started shortly thereafter. He wanted to create a retirement living wage for people. You work, you pay in, you receive. And taxes started a few years later, roughly 2 years, 1937. They were collected, and then the first benefit was drawn in 1940. In fact, it was a woman in Vermont. Her name was Ida Fuller, excuse me. Wells was her maiden name. She was a secretary, and think about that. She had only paid into the system for 3 years. It started in 37. She drew January 31st of 40. So she had a pretty sweet deal in this regard. She received a very large check of $22.54. And of course, back then, at that time in life, the life expectancy was a little different. And we'll talk about that and the effects that that had on Social Security, and how the system has evolved from then till today. During her lifetime, though, as you see, she's collected almost $23,000 in benefits, paid in 3 years, and received quite a bit of benefits, 35 years of benefits at that time. So not a bad deal for her in the Social Security spectrum. But that's where it started. This was the first person, and it was done obviously by check because ACH was not around for quite some time, to say the least. So where we are with Social Security today, kind of in broad strokes, it's the largest social program we have in the country. There's 69 million people that are drawing on the system and growing, as we have an aging demographic in our country. Um, in 1940, just think about this. The average life expectancy was of 65 was roughly 14 years. That was the expectation for when they're projecting how long someone on average would be on Social Security. And today that's extended to 23. So 9 additional years of life expectancy on average has puts more pressure on a system if people are going to draw benefits for longer. Um, and we're expecting to see that number of people drawing on the system from 69 million today. By 2035, it's going to be over 82 million. And the reality is, Social Security is not retirement in full. It's hopefully representing a portion of the plan in retirement, because that was its intended goal. It was never meant to be a full retirement replacement for income in life. Um, but some live with that kind of financial expectation or spectrum. And so we just have to be mindful that there are quite a few people that are receiving benefits and more are growing to use the system and putting pressure on the financial. And we'll talk about what that all means and some of the things you probably have heard or seen. But that's a little bit about where it's come and where it's going on a big picture view. So where we are today, you've probably heard news stories. You probably have talked to someone in your network or group or family. Social Security is going bankrupt. It's not, but it will have a reduced benefit if we don't make changes. We'll talk about that. It can get fixed, but it's going to require bipartisan support. Easier said than done, certainly. And it still won't grow fast enough. We need there to be either an increase in income that's paying in, or there has to be other measures taken, like extending the retirement age, which again, we'll get into in a minute. But there are some changing evolution with Social Security, and we have to just be top of mind of what that means, especially if you're getting closer to the retirement age where you can apply for benefits. So, why is it in trouble? One big key is life expectancy. We kind of mentioned a few notes in terms of times and the extension of average life expectancy, but people are living longer. We all kind of know that. We can understand that. And, in 75 years roughly of time from 1950 to the end of 24, life expectancy keeps moving longer in age. That puts more pressure on people drawing on the system for much longer, less that it was less of an expectation that that would be a reality when it first started, but it is today. Um, and it's covering a significant amount of people, as you can kind of see in the middle boxes. It was intended for retirees that had paid into the system. Today, there's spousal benefits, survivor, disability, family benefits, and there's just less people paying in that are drawing. And that pendulum is still kind of skewing to a less constructive thing. You used to have 16 people paying in per person that was drawing out. As you can see, it's less than three now that are paying in versus one person drawing out. So there's pressure abound. We have to figure out ways to affect that. And here's kind of the big picture, which is the day of reckoning. When will we finally have the problem child roost and it's going to have to live through it? Now, this was from last 2025 Social Security Trust Report. The numbers just got updated a few days ago, so it's not reflected in today's PowerPoint, but the newest number is 2034, will be when all Social Security programs will effectively have a reduced benefit. It says 83%, but basically what it means is in 2032, retirees and survivors and spouses, that benefit will reduce by roughly 18%, I believe by roughly 18%. I'm sorry, 22%. You basically should expect, if nothing changes between now and the end of 2032, you could have a reduced benefit from what the Social Security statement says you're due to what you actually would be paid if there's no changes. And then it will go further to those with disability or survivorship benefits. Theirs won't be affected until 2034 as it stands, as of a few days ago. But the bottom line is the day is coming where we have to take action, and it's coming sooner than we would like. So this is not a new concept, but what has happened is more people are taking from than are putting in. Those revenues can't keep up. And the money that was basically, we had like a trust. We had a escrow account, so to speak, where cash was just accumulated to hopefully offset more people drawing on the system like is happening today. That trust has basically been accessed and it's taking it down quickly. So we have a date in mind, 2032 for survivors or for retirees, the typical person that's drawing on Social Security. That is the day at the end of the fourth quarter will be the first time where we potentially could have a reduced benefit if nothing changes. We think there will be some action taken, in short. Um, and here are the proposals. The key ones are just extend the retirement age. Today, the stated retirement age roughly is 67 years. So if you're born in 1960 or earlier, you would have full retirement age at age 67. What if we made that full retirement age 68? That those are proposals that will have an effect on how when the benefits would have to be reduced, or we could increase the payroll tax. So this year it's $184,500. If you pay in your payroll, it's capped. Not a dollar goes towards Social Security once you breach that income threshold. What if they raise that bar even higher or uncapped it? Like some Medicare revenue sources don't have a cap in terms of the revenues they can generate. Or you could eliminate the payroll tax cap. There's quite a few things that are in the key group of solutions, but it's going to take bipartisan approach to be able to pass these through to make them physically happen. And that's what we're seeking to what we need to have happen. These are the ideas that would be executed to make it so that we have a sustainable Social Security for the rest of all of our lifetimes. So as mentioned, Social Security is not a full retirement replacement. That's not its stated goal or its intention, especially today with the amounts that are received. It just doesn't seem viable to be able to sustain life, health, food, shelter. So, what we're finding is the average benefit today, as you can see here in the bold, is around $2,000 or just under $25,000 a year. Um, what happens is the percentage of people that don't have retirement. I'm sure we all may know of someone who just doesn't have retirement planning or it wasn't part of their mindset. They didn't plan accordingly, and now they're there, and Social Security is their game, or they have to continue to work much later into life to provide a living wage. Basically, the more income you have, Social Security becomes a smaller percentage of that retirement income, and that's the goal. So basically, the higher your income is over $88,000, the more that Social Security is your replacement for your living wage. That's its goal, but unfortunately, that's not the reality for all. So we want to be thoughtful about something when we're building our retirement plans. You've got a fantastic team at Frenzy that helps to do that for you and to model your Social Security assumptions based on your birth year. We can be brought in if you need extra assistance, and we can talk about that at the end. But for right now, it's a part of the pool for your retirement life, but it's not the only income or life wage to offset your living wages that you had during your working years or your family or spouse working years. So let's understand a little bit about the program. We talked about people living longer, but let's talk about male female, which my wife likes to point out here. Um, Women are smarter than men, or at least that's what I've been told, and that's what I believe. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But men don't live as long as women, and there's probably a whole host of reasons to that. But as you can see here, the life expectancy for men and women are different. Men generally live about 2.5 years on average less than women. And so what you want to look at here is if a man was living and they weren't married, or a woman was living and they weren't married, there's a 50% chance that a male would live till 86 and a female would live to 88. Now, if you're married, there's a good chance that one of those people, as you can see in the blue bar on the bottom, would live to the age 92. People are living longer. It's putting more stress on finances. And the good thing is hopefully with some thoughtful planning and how to elect for your Social Security benefits thoughtfully, this could be a helpful tool to help provide you income as people are living longer. And obviously, women are living longer than men. The data says that. And Stephanie Kinberg says that too. So we want to be prepared to help bridge the gap of longer lifespans. So, things to consider. We're all different. We all have different circumstances. We have different retirement plans in place. Sometimes we have to think about longevity. What is our family's medical history? All of these things are important factors when considering what are we going to elect for your benefits. Are you going to, is one of the people in your household, or if it's a single person, how long are you going to work or need to work? Are you married? What's the age difference of the spouses in the marriage or partnership? These are all very important questions to manage, and it's key to have obviously a team to lean on to help kind of flesh out what is the reality for planning for Social Security elections. And we'll get into that in a little bit. Um, And one thing that keep within Social Security in mind is it does go up slightly every year based on inflation, or it's called COLA, not Coca-Cola. It's not quite that sweet, but it's cost of living adjustments. It's how much more should we expect each year to offset living expenses from inflation. Inflation's everywhere. You've bought anything, you've gone to the gas station, you've bought beef or steaks, things cost more than they did 12 months ago. We all kind of know that. So Social Security gives you a little boost each year to reflect that. It's a living adjustment or a cost of living adjustment or COLA for short. This year, benefits went up 2.8% from 2025 to 2026, starting in the January payment, to reflect higher inflation. The reality is this number is never going to be good enough. It's never going to reflect true inflation, but at least it's something, and it gives us a bit of a boost to the total income we have on our benefit year over year. And as you can see, this is how it's roughly looked the last 15 years in terms of the adjustment year over year. Um, how is Social Security calculated? This is kind of the geeky part. We don't need to worry about it too much. The whole thing is you have to think of it on a calendar year basis. There's 4 quarters in a year, January 1st to March 31st, etc. going on. That's 4 quarters in a year. You have to have paid in or have earned credits for basically 10 years. So if you work for 10 years and there's 4 quarters in a year, you would have earned 40 credits. So 4 quarters times 10 years equals 40 credits. At that point, you're eligible for Social Security at your full retirement age or when you're eligible. Um, Social Security only looks at your top 35-year working history. So the largest or your highest earning years in your working history. Basically, they take the IRS data and they capture that and they look at it. You can see it if you look at your Social Security statement. They're only going to look at your top 35, and they're going to just basically make a calculation off that. And it effectively gets you down to what's your benefit amount. If you wait till full retirement age, the one that's showing on your statement for Social Security, that is what you're due. But you just need 10 years of paying in to do it. Now, it doesn't have to be consecutive because there are working spouses that leave and enter the workforce for various reasons. It can continue over time. And the amount that you have to earn each quarter to generate a credit is roughly 1,800 bucks. So if you generate $1,800 and some change of earned income in a calendar quarter, you've now earned 1 credit. And if you do that over 4 quarters, you earn 4 credits. And over 10 years, now you've earned 40 credits to bring it to life. And that's now you're eligible for a Social Security benefit. Um, so that's probably more than you need to know, but it gives you some context here. So now moving on to when can we actually get it? Here's the visual for that. Now this is basically assuming someone based on birth year. So if you focus on the left column there, where you fall, if you drag that to the right across that row, that'll give you a sense of what you could be due based on your full retirement age, your actual benefit that's showing on your Social Security statement. So if you claim at age 62, which is eligibility for men and women, and roughly a quarter of all people do this, sometimes it's by choice, sometimes it's just from lack of information because they're eligible and they just want to take the benefit. I just mentioned a few times that the Social Security is going through some financial issues. Why wait? Well, there's some big concepts we need to work through on this, but the bottom line is you're eligible at age 62 in a normal retirement situation, but at a reduced benefit. And when you pick that benefit and you take it at an earlier age, it's for life. You don't get to, as an individual, you don't get to change that or step up unless the living circumstances change. But the bottom line is you want to make thoughtful on when are you drawing on Social Security because we don't want to make that mistake for the rest of our life in terms of the amount that we're due. Um, so today, for example, 1960, if you were born at age 67, you are at full retirement age. You're going to get 100% of the number listed on your statement, barring some changes in the Social Security programs that we've talked about. If you came in at age 62, you get 70% of that number. And if you delayed age 70, you actually get 124%. They give you a little boost each year you wait. So it's just some concept to think about. Many claim too early or they don't have the information to maximize. And this is what it looks like based upon when someone retires. So moving on a little bit further, this is trying to show you an example based on dollars, real dollars. If someone retires at age, basically based on your birth year, you'll see if the benefit was going to be $2,000 a month, what happens if you took it early or waited and took it late, how much would that dollar figure change? This gives you a concept based on birth year of what that would look like. And just to give you some kind of bigger ideas, it's basically calculated every month that you either take it early or you take it late will dictate how much of a reduced benefit or an increased benefit you could have. So hopefully I'm not confusing everyone too much. I know Social Security's numbers and jargon, but you go early, you get less. You wait later, you get more. If you go exactly on the age of full retirement age, you get the number you're due. That's the short story. So here's the concept kind of brought to life over a lifetime. Say someone retires at age 67. That's full retirement age for someone born in 1960. Their benefit was $25,000 roughly for the year. That's the total amount they received over the course of 12 months. If they took that money though at age 62, they would have collected 686,000, as you can see. And then if they had waited till full retirement age, they would have collected 750,000. And if they had delayed to age 60, to age 70, they would have received 828,000. We're assuming here they have lived to like an average life expectancy of 87. So by delaying, in this case, you would have actually received the most dollars by delaying to age 70, waiting to draw on your benefit. It's pretty interesting. Sometimes we get a little bit of this confusion of, oh no, I just want the money. I want it now. I don't want to wait. But by delaying, if it's available to you, if the health requirements or you don't have the need for it, or if there's a partner and you could work on benefits together, try to think through it holistically, there may be a benefit to delaying in certain cases. Sometimes that's not the case, but just something to visualize for everyone. So there's a little bit more here. What I want to talk about for a moment is what happens if you're trying to draw on your Social Security benefit, but you're still working? This comes up quite a bit. So Social Security will reduce your benefit based on how much earned income you have when you're working before your full retirement age. So think about someone that's born in 1960. If they're still working and they're age 62 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, 66, if you're still working, but you're also trying to draw on your Social Security benefit, depending how much earned income you have from your work or your job or the business that you're related to, it'll reduce your benefit in Social Security paying out. There's basically a ratio until effectively you could be zeroed out. You actually don't earn your Social Security benefit because you're making too much money. Now, the money doesn't go away in this circumstance. It just gets put aside. And once you hit full retirement age, it is returned to you over the course of an average lifetime. But it's a little bit confusing. They don't want people to draw on the money or put more pressure on the system until they need it. Or that's kind of the concept here to just think about. If you're working in retirement age and you're trying to draw on Social Security, they're going to reduce benefits until you hit full retirement age based on your birth year. So just something to think about. Once you hit full retirement age, you go back to working full time if you choose. There's no reduced benefit at that point. There's no limit, as you can see in the red box. So one of the big areas in Social Security is spousal benefits. This came later, which is I have say a one working household where one person is the primary income earner, and the second person maybe is taking care of the family, or other circumstances. In that case, Social Security later in time created a spousal benefit for people to actually be able to earn from working, even though it wasn't physically earned income. They weren't working in the workforce. They were providing for their family and there should be a spousal benefit as a result. That came a few years after the program was created, and they don't have to have 40 credits earned. They don't have to have 10 years of working to earn a spousal benefit. Um, you basically get a portion of the spouse that is working, that is paying into the system. So it depends on your circumstance, but the effect here is provide someone that even though they're adding to society and they're producing good, there should be a benefit to them. So now this benefit though is reduced. It's not a full benefit like someone's paying in. It's up to half. So think about a husband and wife or partners. One person is paying into the system. The other person didn't work at all. There's no earned income. They're just a primary provider for family, for example, taking care of children, etc. in life. At retirement or at 62, they're eligible to take a benefit as a spousal benefit. up to, depending on what year they take the benefit, it's the same concept as Social Security. If I take the benefit age 62, it's going to be reduced. And right now, that benefit number is 30, oops, excuse me, it's 32.5%. That is what you could get as a benefit as a spouse when you're first eligible at age 62. If you wait till full retirement age, you can get up to half. So if the primary spouse has a benefit that says it's $4,000 a month, in this example, a spousal benefit, if they wait till they turn age 67, they could earn up to half of that, $2,000 a month. And as a family, when the time comes, if they're both drawing, now you're looking at $6,000 of Social Security benefits between a primary benefit and a spousal benefit. Not bad. Um, but it matters on when you draw. If you draw early, you get less, and you're only eligible up to half as a spouse. So just some broad strokes on concepts. Um, we don't want to spend too much time on this, but here's kind of a big picture like we talk about. You draw early, you get less. You do it at full retirement age, you get up to half. Spousal benefits are where you don't get a benefit of delaying beyond full retirement age. This is where it changes slightly. See how at age 67 and 70, you're eligible for the same amount. So there's no benefit to wait. So the thought is, if you need it early, take it. But if you can wait till full retirement age, you'll maximize what you can have for the rest of your time. Well, at least for the rest of the time that you're married as a spouse in Social Security ages. So that's some bigger picture. Um, the way we calculate it is a little bit more nuanced, but effectively, it's similar to how you generate a benefit as a main working person in terms of how you calculate it. We're going to move over to some things that are real life, unfortunately, which is widower or survivor benefits. At times, unfortunately, there is a working party of a household that dies very young, and there's a family or children or people in a household that are under the age of 18, and they actually are eligible to draw on Social Security benefits for some time to provide a wage for the surviving spouse to help try to maintain and grow the household. Um, or if there is a case where a husband and wife had been married for 10 years, they have a spouse that has passed away. They want to give that surviving spouse an opportunity to have a retirement wage of some kind, especially think about if you didn't work and that surviving spouse was a non-working party. It provides an opportunity to have some income coming in for the remainder of life. When a survivorship situation, the age you can access the funds isn't just at 62, it's at 60. It drops 2 years. It's a little bit faster. Um, if it's a disabled person or a disabled surviving spouse, that age goes from 60 to 50. So there are slightly different rules of the road depending on the circumstance. So again, everyone's case is different. Lean on the team here, and I can be a stopgap for any very detailed questions that they may not have direct knowledge on. We have a depository, a team here that is basically as much of an expert in our industry on Social Security. So you have a great resource at your disposal. Everyone's situation is different, but just know that there's a lot of different nooks and crannies of those who can draw on Social Security depending on circumstances. Um, Here's another big concept, divorce. Unfortunately, we all know the numbers, 50% roughly on average of married couples will have a divorce in their time. I come from a family of that, and my wife does as well. So we understand it firsthand. And having done this with my mother, who had this circumstance, there's a few tests that have to be met to access divorce spousal benefits. So just a couple things to keep in mind. If the marriage has to last 10 years or longer. I'm talking 10 years from the date of the marriage certificate to the divorce decree. It has to be 10 years. If it's a day less, it's not eligible. My mom and my dad initially were married for 9 years and 9 months and some on days. So my mom was not ever eligible for a divorced spousal benefit. Um, if you're going to claim a divorced spouse benefit, you can't be married because that would change your circumstances. Um, and you have to be divorced for at least 2 years to claim this spousal benefit as in a divorce situation. And again, the same rules applies for regular Medicare. You have to, regular Social Security, excuse me. You have to be 62. You have to be married for more than 10 years. You have to be unmarried. You have to be divorced for at least 2 years. So there's some test requirements basically to satisfy the ability to draw on this. And one interesting fact is it has no effect on the ex-spouse. If a divorcee is trying to claim spousal benefits, if they meet the rules of the road. Um, so there's no effect on the actual ex-spouse and their benefit if someone's claiming it. You just have to meet the requirements. And then you're eligible for a benefit up to half of what the ex-spouse primary insurance, the amount that they are due at full retirement age. All the rules are very transferable in many cases, and they're slightly different. This one is pretty similar. Even as a divorced spouse, you're eligible up to half, like you are if you're a married spouse. You claim early, you get less. You claim at full retirement age, you get the half of the full amount, and there's no benefit to delay. So similar rules, things will start to repeat for you. And again, you have one-off examples, please let us know. This is a concept just to quickly touch on, which is the oopsie. I filed for Social Security at age 62, for example, and I learned quickly perhaps that's not the most beneficial for me and my financial circumstances. So what do? Well, you file Form 521 with the Social Security Administration or have your CPA help you. And it's basically a way for you to undo filing. You can only do it once, and you have to repay all your benefits. So it's a nuisance, but it is available as an option. But it has to be done within a year of applying and receiving Social Security. So just know there is a way to do it, undo it if you have had that happen, or if you have someone that has asked the question, there is a mechanism. It's easily available on Google if you were to search for it, and they can drive you to the paperwork on the Social Security Administration's website. So, couple of quick things. Just know that Social Security benefits are somewhat taxable depending on your earned income. We're not going to spend too much time on this because this is more of the nitty-gritty of things. There's also a more recent comment, which is the most recent bill passed the beginning of last year, the Triple B bill. It's trying to reduce the benefits that can be taxed by Social Security, but it depends on your total income. So it's not a perfect thing saying Social Security taxes are not going to be, Social Security benefits are not going to be taxed. It's somewhat true, but basically the burden to have that taken away from someone now you just have to have had a pretty decent amount of income, as you can kind of see. Once you start to hit $150,000 as a married filing jointly couple in retirement, you'll start to phase out the ability for you to not have as much Social Security benefits tax, in short. It's a lot of minutia. You wouldn't even notice it, frankly. Or like in my mom's example, she didn't even notice it. That was any relative change. But it's basically if you generate or if you have a lot of earned income while drawing on Social Security, there is a chance that you may or may not have less or more taxes benefiting from the recent tax legislation change. And here's something to kind of think about. Every state taxes Social Security differently. We're thinking of it on a federal level. That's what I was speaking to just moments ago. But on state, sometimes the states have taxes. Interestingly enough, Washington, there's no state taxes. On, of course, state taxes to begin with. Well, that's recently changed in some ways, but there's no state taxes on Social Security benefits right now. Oregon as well. We like to tax everything under the sun, possibly, mostly. There is no taxes on Social Security benefits. So just bear in mind, every state has a little different rule. It's not just federal, we have to think of state as well. And this one is a little example. What does a statement look like? Have you ever received one? They don't actually send them out until you reach age 60, I believe. They'll actually start to send out a notice to you. But everyone has a Social Security statement. If a 15-year-old's kid is working at a toy store, the next year, the IRS will receive their total income received or paid in through their taxes. They'll have a Social Security statement that they can go on to SSA.gov and look at. So it can start very young. And what's interesting is it'll show you your total income in this column in the middle. It's on page 2, and it will show you how much you've paid in, your total earned income for that year. That's been reported to the IRS. And on the first page is basically what is your benefit amount that currently you're projected to receive based on the amount of income that you've paid into the system or project to. And then depending on the age that you draw it on, how much should you expect? If you draw it earlier, what does that amount look like? You delay it, what does that amount look like? So we all have a Social Security statement if you're paying into the system, even kids as young as 15 or have earned income. So something to bear in mind. And again, age 60 or older, as of now, you're not going to receive any paper statements until that age to try to save on money and costs. So sign up is simple. It can take as quick as like 2 or 3 minutes. Believe you need to have your credit card or some validation verification purposes to just make sure that you are who you are. And just remember to write down or keep it in a safe place your login information so you have it. So what's changed in 26 quickly? We mentioned it before, but COLA, cost of living adjustments, not Coca-Cola. This year it went up 2.8%. Your benefit from 2015 to 2016 was increased based on inflation. It went up 2.8% year over year. Um, so it's something to bear in mind when you're doing your retirement planning to just make sure it's reflected. And a lot of the software that's used to help with financial planning will factor this in immediately once the number is available and reported. And number two is just trying to maximize. If you delay your Social Security, not at full retirement age or say age 67 right now, but if you delay to say age 68 or 9 or 70, it can meaningfully impact or grow the retirement income that you can generate when you're eligible. So it's something to bear in mind if you haven't had that decision made or if you're thinking about how to maximize. Um, these are things that have real consequences and can be really beneficial if you're able to. Initially, one quick thing, if you make $184,500 in 2026, you will have Social Security taken out of that to pay into the system up until that point. $1 more, it doesn't get anything go towards Social Security. So that's the cap. So one of the things they're looking at is potentially changing to help draw in more revenues to the system. So again, talk to your team and your CPA to help make sure your understanding of that kind of and what's going on in the Social Security tax spectrum. And if you're working, as we mentioned before, they're going to reduce your benefits if you're earning too much money and trying to draw a Social Security benefit until you reach full retirement age. So it's just something to bear in mind. And then lastly, there was two rule changes about 2 years ago. It was called the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset, or it's been named like grumpy partner offset. Um, in short, there was a lack of eligibility to draw a Social Security benefit in certain circumstances. Generally, it was from people that were drawing on pensions or pension systems that had a larger benefit than Social Security, and they were eligible for it, but they just couldn't draw on it based on the rules. The rules of the road changed a bit in 2024. A lot of that has been worked out at this point, but some people may have eligibility for Social Security benefits and they don't realize it because there's a pension that they may be drawing income, or a spouse that was drawing that worked for a pension or had pension eligible income that maybe passed away. In those circumstances, it's worth checking in with your team and just asking, am I maximizing it? Am I eligible for a Social Security benefit if you currently aren't and you think you may be? This would be something to take action on and to contact Social Security. A lot of this has already been attended to, but you never know. And lastly, when you draw on your benefits, it obviously it matters. And if you're still working in retirement, just know if you're trying to draw on your Social Security benefit, you're going to have a reduced benefit until you hit full retirement age. So the money's not going away. It's just going to get kicked down the road, and they'll kick it back to you over time based on your life expectancy for a male or a female. Um, we're not going to spend too much time on this. The last kind of thing I really want to just bring up, which is just coordinate a few things. These are really important discussions to start to think about around age 60. Even though you may not be ready or need to draw on Social Security, it may not be eligible. It's something to just kind of get your mindset on. Just think about what are the ways that we're going to maximize based on my circumstances? Am I single? Are you married? Is there a divorce situation? Is there a widower situation? Is there a disability situation? A lot of different things are at play. So we just want to make sure people have time to think about it and create a thoughtful plan. And you have one of the best teams here in the Northwest to help steward you through that. So with that, we've talked for a little over 35 minutes. So I want to pause and just see what questions you may have.
Can you hear me, Jeff?
Yes,
Okay, perfect. Great. Yes, we just have a couple of questions. One of them was following the session, can we get a copy of the slides?
can absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So Shell will get those out to you. Um, the next question was drawing benefit at 62, drawing an early benefit. I guess the question is, it says, but the dollars could be invested since age 62. Are you going to demonstrate what that would look like?
It's a great question. We don't have it in the slide. I think it's just to simplify for the amount of disclosures we'd have to add to the back of the presentation. But the question I think gets to if I did draw a reduced benefit at age 62 and I invested that, say, all of it in the S&P or a portion of it, would I still be beneficial? Would I still be in a benefit mode, or would I have earned more total dollars versus waiting till full retirement age or waiting till age 70, for example? The question is sometimes it depends on risk tolerance, it depends on the actual dollar amount that you're investing. Um, all this money is taxable, mind you. So are you considering like the tax consequences of selling? You have to assume is it long-term capital gains, what state you're living in. It's not as simple as that, but based on the market returns, there is a thought to say if I had invested all the money and I was eligible at age 62, if you did need a draw on it and you wanted to invest it, say in the S&P 500, it is a reasonable statement to make at this point based on the last few years that you would have been probably beneficial. You would have had more net dollars than you would have had you not. But that circumstance probably is not as available to everyone. So it's something to bear in mind. It's a good question, and you can run those analysis if you want, or we can help kind of generate those and send them over to the team.
Yeah, great. The other question was on the term by withheld. Do you mean forfeited or just paid out later? I think that's referring to if your earnings were over the limit.
Yes.
Mhm.
Uh, if you were, or if maybe was it potentially if you were working and they withheld your benefit that you were due. Um,
That could be.
I the that's typically the big question, which is like, where the heck did this go? Did they just steal it from me again? Like more, I'm paying more and they're taking more. Um, they basically take that pool, the dollar amount that you don't that you were due, but you had income above a threshold, and they reduced your benefit as a result. Whatever that physical dollar amount, think about it going to an escrow account. It's not physically taken and put in an escrow or a trust account separately, but it's held in the trust reserves. And they basically take the total dollar amount, say it's five or 10 or 20,000. And at age 67, they'll basically pay out based on your life expectancy as a male or female, per year. They'll divide that total number by whatever your average life expectancy is, the 17 years or 24 years, and you'll get a piece of that back each year, or they'll break it down actually every month. That's how it works.
Okay, perfect. And that's it for questions. If anyone else that is attending would like a copy of the slides, if you want to just throw your name in the chat, we'll make sure that we get those over to you.
Sounds good. If there are no more questions, I want to make sure that everybody understood how to use it, that if you take your cursor to the bottom of your Zoom screen, it pops up the ability to chat or enter into the Q&A. But if there are no more questions, then I just wanted to thank Jeff so much for joining us today. And if you have follow-up questions to me for your advisor, you can send those to info@forenzawealth.com. And that will come directly to our Director of Operations, Elsa, and then she'll make sure that it gets to the right place. But again, we appreciate everyone taking the time. Education is so important, and we're glad that you took the time to learn more about Social Security. And again, thank you so much to Jeff for all the information today. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a great day,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
Yeah, take care. Have a great night.